먹어도 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
These are the headlines that we're following at this hour. This morning, South Korea launched its second military reconnaissance satellite from the U.S. state of Florida and successfully put it into orbit. This comes as North Korea also plans to ramp up its spying activities. With only 2 days left until the general election in South Korea, rival parties stretch their final campaign efforts to win over more voters. We take a look at how each party views last week's record-high early voting turnout. In Cairo, the Gaza truce talks are proceeding with all parties agreeing on basic terms. This comes a day after Israel pulled back its troops from southern Gaza. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. South Korea launched its second military reconnaissance satellite from the U.S. state of Florida. It has successfully entered orbit and established communication with the ground station. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung has the latest and what this means for the country's surveillance of North Korea.
A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket carrying South Korea's second military reconnaissance satellite soars into the skies, leaving behind billows of smoke. The country's second military reconnaissance satellite lifted off at around 8:17 a.m. Monday Korea time from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The satellite succeeded in communicating with an overseas ground station shortly after entering orbit. The launch follows another successful liftoff last December. December's satellite was equipped with an electro-optical and infrared sensor capable of capturing images with slight limitations depending on the weather and time of day. The second satellite launched on Monday, however, is a SAR satellite equipped with synthetic aperture radar sensors. The system captures clear images day or night, regardless of weather conditions. It also checks in on the Korean peninsula twice as many times a day. The launches are part of the military's 425 mission. The goal is to have 5 satellites in orbit by 2025 to boost surveillance of the Korean peninsula amid North Korea's evolving nuclear and missile threats. When all 5 operate together, the military is expected to have coverage at about 2-hour intervals. Monday's launch comes as North Korea also ramps up its spying activities. The North launched its first spy satellite last November and aims to launch 3 more this year. Observing Monday's launch at the Defense Ministry, Seoul's Defense Minister Shin Won-sik said the regime's next launch will likely take place soon.
North Korea appears to be making some additional improvements. If the current technical enhancements are made smoothly without significant difficulties, the launch could take place around mid-April. If such enhancements take more time, the launch could take place in late April.
Despite the regime's ongoing efforts, the minister showed confidence that South Korea's military space technology is far more advanced than the North's. The chief of the Defense Acquisition Program Administration, Seok Jong-gon, added that the agency will continue to enhance the South's surveillance capabilities against Pyongyang.
In the future, when additional satellites under the 425 mission and ultra-small satellites are launched, the entire North Korean region will be monitored dozens of times a day, allowing the military to deter provocations and immediately respond in case of emergency.
The Defense Ministry is seeking to launch 50 to 60 small and ultra-small reconnaissance satellites by 2030 to shorten the surveillance intervals to around 30 minutes. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida says his government is making high-level approaches to North Korea for talks with Kim Jong-un as he looks to resolve issues such as the abduction of Japanese citizens by the North. But Pyongyang had earlier dismissed any possibility of a meeting. Our Bae Eun-ji explains more.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has reiterated his determination to secure a meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. During an interview with CNN on Sunday, ahead of his summit with U.S. President Joe Biden, Kishida said his government is making high-level approaches to hold a Tokyo-Pyongyang summit. He added the purpose of promoting the meeting is to address unresolved issues and promote stable relations, apparently referring to the abduction of Japanese citizens in the 1970s and 80s, as well as the North's nuclear and missile development. The Japanese leader also said his government is monitoring military cooperation between North Korea and Russia and called joint military drills between China and Russia concerning with respect to international order and stability. For the past few weeks, Kishida has repeatedly said he wishes to push for a summit to resolve the abduction issue, which has been a main obstacle in Japan's relations with North Korea.
As I've said before, to solve the abduction problem and other North Korean issues, a summit is crucial. I have been working directly on this with North Korea through various channels.
But late last month, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's powerful sister, Kim Yo-jong, suddenly said the regime would not pursue a summit and that it would reject any contact and negotiations with Japan, accusing Japan of being stuck in the past by continuing to raise the issue of Japanese abductees. In 2002, after years of denial, North Korea acknowledged that it had kidnapped 13 Japanese in the 1970s and 1980s, which experts say was most likely to train spies in the Japanese language and culture. The regime apologized and allowed 5 of them to return to Japan that year, but said the others had died. But Japan says there were at least 17 Japanese citizens abducted and continues to claim that Pyongyang has yet to provide any acceptable explanation. It has been demanding North Korea immediately return all the remaining abductees, with many elderly relatives saying they're running out of time to see their loved ones. If the summit takes place, it will be the first time in more than 20 years that the leaders of North Korea and Japan are meeting since 2002. 배은지, 아리랑 뉴스.
With 6 months into the conflict between Israel and Hamas, talks in Cairo seeking a truce in Gaza have reportedly made significant progress. This came a day after Israel withdrew its forces in southern Gaza. Our Kim Jong-sil has more.
The truce talks on Gaza are making progress in Cairo, and all parties have agreed on basic points. Reuters reported on Monday, quoting Egyptian state-run news outlet Al-Qahera. The talks in Egypt are aimed at landing a truce deal between Israel and Hamas 6 months into their conflict. According to Al-Qahera, the delegation from Hamas, the Islamist movement that controls Gaza, and Qatari officials acting as mediators will return to Cairo within 2 days to agree on the terms of a final agreement. Both Israel and Hamas are negotiating a truce deal with additional mediation efforts from the U.S. and Egypt. On Sunday, local time, an Israeli military spokesperson announced that the Israeli Defense Forces had withdrawn most of its soldiers from southern Gaza. The details or reasons for the troop reduction were not announced. But Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said the troops will be preparing for their, quote, follow-up missions. With few details known behind Israel's recent decisions, experts said the withdrawal of troops could be taking place as the country may be under increased pressure from the U.S. and especially Iran.
Israel attacked the Iranian consulate in Syria and Iran vowed to retaliate. Iran reportedly put pressure on the United States to get Israel to come to a ceasefire agreement and to halt the ground war in Rafah, saying it would not attack Israel if these things happen. I think Israel's moves are in response to this.
Earlier this month, Israel attacked the Iranian embassy in Syria, killing some of the highest-ranking military officials in Iran's armed forces. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
We've entered the final countdown for this Wednesday's election day, which will decide who gets to be part of the 22nd National Assembly of South Korea. With less than 48 hours remaining, our National Assembly correspondent Lee Si-hoo updates us on candidates' final campaign efforts.
With the April 10th election day just around the corner, South Korea's capital region is heating up with competition. On Monday, just 2 days before final voting for the nation's 22nd general election, leaders across camps are focusing their campaign efforts in Seoul and the surrounding Gyeonggi-do province. The ruling People Power Party's interim leader Han Dong-un visited key cities in Gyeonggi-do province to support running candidates. While originally unannounced, Han later added to his itinerary an additional visit to the city of Incheon, which PPP's Won Hee-dong and the main opposition Democratic Party's leader Lee Jae-myung are racing against. Lee also started his daily campaign in the city before visiting other key districts in Seoul. He too supported other DP candidates in major battlegrounds, namely the Jongno-gu district in central Seoul, a traditional political hotspot. Other minor parties, including the Green Justice, Semire, New Reform, and Rebuilding Korea parties, also made their final push in the capital region. The focus in and near Seoul isn't quite a surprise considering how 122, or nearly half of all 254 electoral districts, are located in the capital region. While the voter turnout rate during last week's early voting marked a record high 31.28%, the figure for the capital Seoul was even higher at 32.63%, possibly suggesting even higher public interest in the region. The PPP attributed the strong turnout to people's judgment toward the main opposition party, while the DP viewed it as a sign of strong public sentiment against the government.
With the release of further opinion poll results restricted until voting finishes on Wednesday, candidates are on the final stretch of their election campaigns. Lee Si-hu, Arirang News.
President Yoon has pledged to ramp up the supply of affordable homes in urban areas as the government implements policies to ease regulations and taxes weighing on the property market. On Monday, the South Korean leader held a meeting at the presidential office in Seoul to inspect the effectiveness of policies on the supply of urban housing, noting that excessive property taxes had been punitive for both homeowners and tenants. Yoon noted that his government policies to lower taxes on property transfer and ownership and expand financial support for young people and newlyweds were reaping significant results. Still, given the ongoing period of high inflation and rising construction costs, Yoon said the government needs to move quickly to normalize the housing market. He pledged the government would speed up projects for redevelopment and reconstruction in order to supply homes that people want. Meanwhile, health authorities have reaffirmed their hopes for constructive talks with medical practitioners who, for their part, have shared their plans to make a public address about their stance later this week. Our Lee Eun-hee has the latest.
In Monday's briefing, the government maintained that it is still open for talks, but once again highlighted the need to increase the medical school quota by 2,000 places.
If alternative solutions backed by scientific evidence and logical reasoning are presented, the government is open for discussion.
On Sunday, the Korean Medical Association's Emergency Committee described last week's meeting with President Yoon as a meaningful encounter.
The Emergency Response Committee assesses the meeting between the President and Park Dan, head of the Korean Intern and Resident Association, as meaningful. The Korean Medical Association reiterates its support for the doctors and students, urging for a unified voice.
During the announcement, he also requested for the Ministry of Education to halt the ongoing process related to the quota increase. He also said the Korean Medical Association, professors, trainee doctors, and medical students will speak with a collective voice from now on and will be holding a joint press conference within this week. Meanwhile, some universities have decided to resume classes that had been postponed due to medical students' applications for leave of absence and refusal to attend classes. Gyeongbuk National University and Jeonbuk National University will resume classes starting from Monday, while Catholic University and Jeonnam National University will resume classes on the 15th. Based on the regulation that requires at least 30 weeks of lectures annually, the universities said they could not delay the academic schedule any farther. Lee Eun-hee, Arirang News.
The presidential office says that despite reports to the contrary, it has never reviewed a proposal by doctors to postpone the increase in the medical student enrollment quota by 1 year, adding that it has no plans to do so. An official at the presidential office told reporters on Monday that the government stands firm on the original plan of an extra 2,000 places. However, it is open to talks about the exact number if the medical community comes up with a scientific and rational proposal. The government pledged to invest in the country's so-called root industry, which are businesses that utilize processing technologies such as casting, molding, and welding for key manufacturing industries such as automobiles, shipbuilding, and IT. The Trade Ministry announced on Monday action plans to establish a high-tech system for these root industries. The details include investing in human resources, enhancing corporate innovation capabilities, and establishing the necessary regulations. The government is set to invest 636 billion won, or $470 million, which is nearly a 60% increase compared to last year. Foreign investors are continuing to expand their presence in the South Korean stock market. Data from the Financial Supervisory Service on Monday shows that offshore investors net purchased nearly 16 trillion Korean won, or around $11.6 billion worth of listed stocks in the January to March period. This is the largest ever amount on record for a first quarter. And March saw foreigners maintaining their buying trend for the fifth consecutive month. This was mostly driven by expectations of returns from the government's corporate value-up program and a robust demand for semiconductor stocks. On the cultural front, we're now familiar with the buzz surrounding K-culture and its global impact, often referred to as Hallyu, or the Korean wave phenomenon. And now, one of the world's largest art museums is holding an exhibition entirely dedicated to the history and evolution of Hallyu. Our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin reports.
Hallyu, or the Korean wave, is making a splash in America like never before. The Museum of Fine Arts Boston is hosting the U.S. debut of the exhibition Hallyu, the Korean Wave, back after its first run at London's Victoria and Albert Museum in 2022.
Hallyu really, at this moment, is a global phenomena. The influence it has on different regions around the world, on different generations of people, it's just really amazing. We have a very significant Korean art already, but it's mostly of the art before the 1900s. I think it's very important to show that, creativity, energy, and innovation.
MFA's Hallyu, the Korean Wave, showcases around 250 costumes, props, photos, videos, and artworks on Korean popular culture. The first section, From Rubble to Smartphones, delves into Korea's history over the past century through photos, videos, posters, and archival materials.
We think it's very important for people to understand Korea's recent history and how you really came out of there. And this is an incredible story about resilience and innovation.
Next, visitors explore the present K-culture with outfits worn by K-pop groups aespa and 80s. There are the iconic pink and green suits from the Netflix hit Squid Game and a recreation of the bathroom set from the Oscar-winning film Parasite. Wrapping up the experience is a dance challenge, inviting visitors to try K-pop's synchronized moves. But what distinguishes MFA's Hallyu, the Korean Wave, is its blend of past and present. Korean-American artist Julia Kwon's work showcasing patchwork textiles resembling bojagi, a traditional Korean object wrapping cloth, is an example.
My textile work that draws attention to the rise of anti-Asian hate during the COVID-19 pandemic is currently on display in Hallyu. I integrate patterns from contemporary socio-political events into the bojagi design to question people's preconceptions on authenticity and otherness. My work considers what it means to form an Asian feminine identity today within the context of globalism, cultural hybridity, intersectionality.
Hallyu, the Korean Wave, runs until July 28th at the MFA's Anne and Graham Gunn Gallery before heading to the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
In other news, in South Korea, there are 100 well-maintained forests, including old-growth ones, referred to as well-grown forests. The Korea Forest Service is working on utilizing these as resources for forest ecotourism to revive local economies. Our Chung Eun-ju explains.
This is a birch tree forest located in Wondaeri, Injegun, Gangwon-do Province. Facing severe damage from pine needle gall midges, the villagers chose to plant and nurture white birch trees, which grow quickly, for over 50 years. Now, it has transformed into a representative winter tourism resource, attracting 300,000 visitors annually and serves as a solid support for the local economy.
Rural areas are aging, right? I believe the birch forests are playing a role in shifting the economic base from agriculture to a new industry.
The top 100 luxury forests were selected by gathering public opinion from 2017 to 2023 among national, private, and locally managed forests. The list includes 29 forests created through afforestation and forest cultivation, such as the Hinoki cypress forest in Gochangub, Jeollabuk-do Province, and the Korean pine forest in Yangpyeonggun, Gyeonggi-do Province. There are also 45 forests suitable for leisure activities, such as the white birch forest in Injegun, Gangwon-do Province, and the healing forest in Seogwipo, Jeju Island. 26 forests with valuable conservation needs are on the list as well, such as Gomberyong in Injegun, Gangwon-do Province, and Gwangnung Forest in Pocheon, Gyeonggi-do Province. Projects are underway to revive endangered areas using forests. The project aims to develop forest ecology programs centered around luxury forests and utilize them as tourism resources.
The white birch forest in Inje attracts 300,000 visitors annually, and its ripple effect on the local economy amounts to 33.6 billion won annually. Each luxury forest demonstrates that it can be an important resource for reviving endangered areas.
The UN has proposed promoting the livelihoods of residents as a strategy for taking care of the forests. Chung Eun-ju, Arirang News.
Warm spring weather continued throughout the day, which was perfect for outdoor activities. Daytime temperature in Seoul rose to 23 degrees Celsius and 26 degrees in Daegu, feeling like early summer. Tomorrow will be as warm as today. However, the temperature swing will be around 15 degrees. As cold air flows in from the East Sea, the temperature on the East Coast will drop by about 10 degrees overnight, which will be somewhat chilly. Tomorrow, slight rain will fall between morning and evening in Gwangju and inland areas of Jeollanam-do Province. You need to take your umbrella on your way out. In addition, strong winds of more than 50 meters per second are expected across the country tomorrow. Be careful with wildfires. Tomorrow morning will start off with mild conditions. Seoul, Daejeon, Daegu 10 degrees, Busan and Jeju 12 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 19 in Seoul and Jeju, Daegu 18 degrees Celsius. Clear and warm spring weather will continue for a while. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all for this newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 10 p.m. with the AI headline news. Hope everyone has a good start to the week.
completely new